Power Rangers Once and Always, the highly anticipated movie that is supposed to celebrate 30 years of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You've seen the trailer, we've talked about it. Today, I want to give you my review of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. So, they do these every few years where they have like a crossover story or a story where old Rangers come back. So, this gimmick is not really new. They've done it throughout the years. Forever Red's probably the most famous example of it. But here's the problem. Whenever Saban or Disney or whoever owns Power Rangers, Hasbro, does one of these like big event situations or like a big, crossover where they bring back old Rangers, almost every single time they do it, they screw it up. Either because something looks bad or unrealistic, or they don't have the talent that Toei does when they do their live action fight scenes, or they always find a way to screw it up. But the one thing they always do bring is usually they have a lot of heart. You understand what I'm saying? So, from a technical perspective, these reunion specials usually aren't that great, but they have heart. And Power Rangers Once and Always was the definition of that. They only had a handful of actors to work with. You had David Yost, who kind of put this all together, Catherine Sutherland, who reprised her role as Kat, Steve Cardenas as Rocky once again, Karen Ashley for a while plays Aisha, more of a cameo with Johnny Young Bosch. And they took some risks here. They really did take some risks, and they did things that we don't normally see in Power Rangers. So here's the problem, okay? We're going to go through the good and the bad. This had a lot of heart. This special was really a strong tribute to Tui Trang, the actress who played Trini, who died many years ago. In many ways, they try to pay their respects to her, not just with some archival footage, but the storyline with her daughter, Charlie Kirsch, who is the new. She plays Mean. She's like the new Yellow Ranger, basically. You could tell from the trailer. And they really try hard to connect the dots and pay tribute. I mean, the movie ends with a little, in memory of, for not only Tui Trang, but Jason David Frank, who died just a few months ago, and that's still pretty shocking to me. I'm still not really processing that one. This special really needed Jason David Frank. David Yost is kind of the lead character here with Walter Jones, who's once again playing Zach, and they do a lot of things that left me kind of scratching my head. For example, they tease in the movie that Kat has a kid with Tommy, but I don't recall like if that was actually said or not, or if I'm like imagining it. Like there's a lot of character connections that don't make sense. I'm not really sure who like Trini's baby daddy is, but at one point David Yost and Walter Jones both treated Trini's daughter like it's their daughter. So I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, did they hook up with her? Like it's implied that it's not, but they're like disciplining her like that's her daughter. Like it's weird, or their daughter. It's weird. So one of the things they did here that I thought was really strange is for the green, red, and yellow Rangers, because the story, of course, is that Jason, Tommy, and Kimberly get captured by Robo Rita. And if you're wondering what Robo Rita is, it's explained in the movie how she's born. It actually does tie into the end of In Space and the old canon. The problem is it's really forced. Like the origin story of Robo Rita is weird, and they could have done a better one. They could have done a way better one if they were more creative. Like I thought initially that Robo Rita was like a creation by the Machine Empire, the leftover remnants, and they were gonna make like a new Rita. But that's not what happens. And so what happens is kind of goofy, to be honest with you. But this whole special was not really meant to be taken seriously. So the pros, I'm gonna go through the good and the bad. The good, I mentioned, lots of heart. I do like the new character of Charlie Kirsch, and they do their best to not only give us old Rangers, they only a few came back, but also some cameo appearances. And another good thing is there's tons of Easter eggs, and I mean tons of Easter eggs for Power Rangers fans. There are words that are directly taken from the Japanese version, like Bandora from Jew Ranger. There are like statements of other planets, of other characters in the Power Rangers mythos throughout the years. So if you watch the old Power Rangers show, not just Mighty Morphin, but also Zeo, Turbo, In Space, and even some of the ones after the Zordon death, like they do a great job here of giving you Easter eggs for that, like tons, including some obscure ones with like Bryan Cranston's name pops up in here. Harry Carey or whatever, the talk show host that later went on to voice Ninjor, that's here. Like they have a lot of Easter eggs, tons. So something else that I thought was surprisingly good was the choreography of the fights. Toei did not choreograph this for them, so I was pleasantly surprised that a lot of the fights, both in costume and not with the putties, was pretty good. If you go back and watch the old Power Ranger show, the stuff that was shot by the Americans, the fight scenes in the first two seasons, were not very good. Now, I say it by the Americans because if you know about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you know about obviously the Jew Ranger original Japanese version. Now, I'm assuming that most of you probably have not watched Jew Ranger. I've seen both Mighty Morphin and Jew Ranger, and you can tell when the Jew Ranger footage is being used because the choreography is 10 times better, right? In the old show. But here, I thought the choreography was pretty damn good, to be honest, and they kind of took their time with all the callbacks. Like the Rangers, I was wondering, are they going to get their weapons? They used the different, like the gun dagger. They used a lot of their different weapons. And then finally we see them. You know, I like that. I enjoyed that. But one of the things they did that was weird is when you see the original Rangers that weren't in the special, meaning Amy Jo Johnson, Austin St. John, and Jason David Frank, they took audio clips of the original show and they clipped it in so as if the actors are there talking. And this was really creepy. This reminded me of like Carrie Fisher scenes in Rise of Skywalker. Like, you know that the actor's not really there, but they're using sound effects from 1993 or whatever to make them sound like they're there. So like when the Green Ranger's fighting, you hear him go, like Jason David Frank. It's his voice, but it's cut in from the old show. Like, that was weird. And what's also weird is they do try to explain like how the Rangers, like what's been going on, like why they're still like the new command center, the new alpha, like they did try to explain that, but there are still logic holes. Like, why does the Green Ranger have his powers? That shouldn't make any sense. And why are these original Rangers still in action? Like, they never really explained to us at all at any point as to why these Rangers, Zach and Trini and Billy, like why are they still Rangers? They're old. They're not teenagers with attitude. And if you remember, in the middle of Turbo, when the four actors, the Adam, Tommy, Kat, and I forgot the other Yellow Ranger's name, the Naomi chick. I forget her name right now. I don't know why I'm forgetting. I don't know. But these characters left the show because Zordon thought they were too old. I think that's what happened. It might not have been Zordon, but I remember the story was they were in their 20s and they had to they graduated, they had to move on with their lives. I remember liking that. But here we have these Rangers that are old, but they're still Rangers. That's weird. They don't really explain how the powers work. They do kind of give you subtle hints on some things, but basically Billy is back and he's a genius. Again, you understand what I'm saying? Now, one of the things they did not explain is David Yost looks younger here than he's supposed to look. If you remember, in Power Rangers Zeo, they wrote Billy out of the show because he was aging too fast and he had to go to the planet of the Aquitar Rangers to stay young. And they changed all that. Like, it's weird. There's a lot of plot holes here that don't make any sense. There's a lot of strange connections that either are not explained or not properly fleshed out. And that does hurt the story. Also, I thought that Zach's character was very inconsistent. One scene, he's telling the new Yellow Ranger that she's not ready to be a Ranger yet, Trini's daughter. But in another scene, when she actually does get the powers, he's like, you want to try it? You want to morph? Totally contradicting the original scene. It felt like there was another scene they cut out of this making sense. Zack literally goes from not wanting her to be a ranger, switching sides to her like taking the power, and that does not make any sense, yo. Literally the next scene. Stuff like that was all over this story, so the script is very messy. This is a very messy script. But they tried their best to do like nostalgia with not only bringing back Rita, voiced once again by Barbara Goodson, so I was very happy to see her get a paycheck. Very happy to see that. There's no Goldar. The old like minions of Rita aren't there. They do bring back two old monsters, but give them robot upgrades, and they look kind of cool. Like the costumes were not bad at all. What was bad though was the absolutely embarrassing Zord fight in this movie. My God, I thought the Zord fight from the 2017 live action Power Rangers movie was bad. This one, dude, the CGI here looked like something out of Reboot. Like it looked like something from the early 90s, but worse. How is it that the original Power Rangers show from 1993 has more and better special effects than this 2022 movie? That is mind blowing that Toei in Japan can create better effects in the 90s than they could do in America in the 2022. That doesn't make any sense, y'all. Like the morphing scenes do not look good. There are logic holes all over this. Like I said, from a technical perspective, this is a pretty terrible movie. You're going to find a lot of plot holes. You're going to find a lot of things that aren't explained. A lot of questions are going to be raised. Character motivations are weird in this. They reference things from the old show, and I like that, but the characters themselves, they don't all feel the same. Billy thankfully does, and so does Kat, but the rest of them I'm not really sure about. And then, of course, I mentioned the terrible CG, but again, technically this was terrible, but it had a lot of heart. They really tried to pay tribute to Trini, and one of the most shocking things they did here is that they straight up, in the first scene, Rita destroys Trini, literally kills her. So I'm thinking, okay, they killed off the character because the real actress is dead. I get it. Her daughter will become the new Yellow Ranger. I figured that out on my own. But what I couldn't figure out is if Rita was strong enough to blast the Yellow Ranger and kill her with one shot, why didn't she just kill the other Rangers? Instead of having to deal with them, why didn't she just turn her wand around and kill them? There are so many moments in this where a character will be like getting the upper hand and then they'll just turn around and leave. There's like 3 times where Rita's about to win and then she just leaves. Like finish them off. There's just weird stuff in this script. Like you could tell they were trying so hard to have nostalgia berries that the story itself falls, but it was good to see the actors back and it had a ton of heart. But to be honest with you, yo, they should not do this again. Power Rangers once and always. I'm going to say Power Rangers, see it once and never again. That's the way I'm saying it. If you're a Power Ranger fan, go ahead and spend the hour watching it. It's not bad. But if you started watching Power Rangers after like Lost Galaxy and you don't have a connection with the original like cast, the first season cast and the second season cast, it's not going to do anything for you. I'm telling you, you're better off watching modern Power Rangers than you are watching this. But if you remember the old cast, and if you were a fan of the first 3 seasons, really the first 6, you're going to have a lot to love here. But again, it's all heart. Technically, it's a complete mess. It is just hideous. So I'm just being honest. I'm giving you honest criticism. However, the heart made up for it. I'm glad they were able to do this, although it really was missing Jason David Frank because he's always back. He's Mr. Ranger. And I know that he did not do this because of conflicts he had with Hasbro. And, he would obviously pass away last year. But I don't know how I felt about this, man. It was nice, but It also, parts of it felt very lazy, and I really wish they had Toei come in and instead of using CG, use actual costumes for like the Zord fights and take it back to the old school. I was surprised pleasantly that the choreography for the regular stand-up fights were pretty good. So I'm very mixed on this. But if you're a Power Ranger fan who liked the first 3 seasons, or like I said, the first 6, check it out. Those are my thoughts. Take care, y'all. I'll see you soon. Have a good one.